The invisible thread. Melungeon influence on Appalachian culture. The Melungeons, despite their historical marginalization, have had a profound influence on the culture of the Appalachian region. This influence, though often subtle and unrecognized, can be seen in the traditions, music, folklore, and even the language of Appalachia. The blending of different cultural elements, African, Native American, European, within Melungeon communities created a unique tapestry that has woven its way into the broader Appalachian culture. One of the most significant contributions of the Melungeons is their influence on Appalachian music. The haunting melodies and complex rhythms of Appalachian folk music, often played on instruments like the banjo, fiddle, and dulcimer, reflect a blend of African, European, and Native American musical traditions. The Melungeons, with their diverse heritage, played a crucial role in this musical fusion. Their songs, passed down through generations, carried the echoes of ancient ballads from the British Isles, the rhythmic beats of African drumming, and the spiritual chants of Native American tribes. These musical traditions were not just a form of entertainment, but also a means of storytelling and cultural preservation. Through music, the Melungeons expressed their joys, sorrows, hopes, and fears, keeping alive the memories of their ancestors and the struggles they faced. The influence of Melungeon music can still be heard in the bluegrass, old-time, and gospel music that is so closely associated with the Appalachian region today. Folklore and storytelling are other areas where Melungeon influence is evident. The tales told in the hills of Appalachia are rich with themes of survival, cunning, and resilience, qualities that were essential to the Melungeon way of life. Stories of shapeshifters, witches, and ghostly apparitions are common in Appalachian folklore, and many of these stories can be traced back to the Melungeons, who brought with them a deep belief in the supernatural and a reverence for the spiritual forces they believed inhabited the mountains. One particularly famous tale is that of the Haint, a ghostly spirit said to haunt the remote hollows and ridges of the Appalachian Mountains. According to legend, the Haint is the restless soul of a Melungeon who was wronged in life and now seeks revenge on those who disturb its resting place. The story of the Haint, like many other Appalachian ghost stories, reflects the Melungeon's complex relationship with the land and the spiritual world. It also serves as a reminder of the deep-rooted fears and anxieties that have shaped the Melungeon's experience, fears that have been passed down through the generations and continue to resonate in Appalachian culture. The Melungeons also left their mark on the dialect and language of the region. Appalachian English, with its distinctive vocabulary and grammar, reflects the linguistic diversity of the region's early settlers, including the Melungeons. Certain words and phrases, believed to be of Portuguese or possibly African origin, are thought to have entered the local dialect through Melungeon communities. This linguistic influence, while subtle, is a testament to the Melungeons' ability to adapt to and shape the cultural landscape of Appalachia. In addition to their influence on music, folklore, and language, the Melungeons contributed to the rich culinary traditions of Appalachia. The foodways of the region, characterized by the use of simple, locally available ingredients, reflect the resourcefulness and adaptability of the Melungeons. Dishes like cornbread, beans, and greens, and wild game stews are staples of Appalachian cuisine, and many of these recipes were likely influenced by the Melungeons' need to make the most of the limited resources available to them in their isolated mountain communities. The Melungeons also had a deep knowledge of medicinal plants and herbal remedies, a knowledge that they shared with their Appalachian neighbors. This herbal tradition, which blended European, African, and Native American practices, became an integral part of Appalachian folk medicine. Even today, some Appalachian families continue to use remedies passed down from Melungeon ancestors, relying on plants like ginseng, black cohosh, and golden seal to treat a variety of ailments. The Veil of Secrecy, Unspoken Truths. For centuries, the Melungeons lived behind a veil of secrecy, guarding their heritage like a sacred relic. This secrecy was not just a means of survival, but a response to the relentless scrutiny and persecution they faced. In the early days of America, when racial purity laws were rigidly enforced, the Melungeons found themselves in a perilous position. Their ambiguous racial identity made them targets of suspicion, leading to legal battles over their right to own land, marry freely, and even educate their children. The Melungeons were often forced to deny their true heritage, altering records, and telling their children to do the same. Stories passed down through generations were sometimes cloaked in allegory or omitted altogether, leaving descendants with fragmented pieces of their past. This deliberate obscuring of identity was a form of resistance, a way to protect themselves from a society that demanded conformity. Yet, within their own communities, the Melungeons maintained a rich oral tradition. Elders would gather the younger generation around hearths, recounting tales of their ancestors, the journeys that brought them to these remote mountains, and the old ways they still practiced. These stories, while often laced with myth and legend, provided a sense of identity and continuity for the Melungeons. Even in the face of erasure, their stories persisted, carried on whispers through the Appalachian winds. The hidden cemeteries, where the past rests uneasy. Throughout Appalachia, hidden among the dense forests and rolling hills, lie the forgotten cemeteries of the Melungeons. These burial grounds, often unmarked and overgrown, are the resting places of generations who lived and died in obscurity. Local legends speak of these cemeteries as haunted places where the spirits of the Melungeons, angered by their mistreatment in life, roam restlessly. In some of these graveyards, the stones are inscribed with strange symbols and cryptic messages, the meanings of which have been lost to time. These symbols may represent a blend of the various cultural influences that shaped the Melungeons: African, Native American, European, and possibly others even more obscure. The lack of written records means that much of what is known about the Melungeons comes from these remnants, pieced together by those brave enough to venture into the forgotten corners of Appalachia. The ghost stories surrounding these cemeteries are numerous. Locals claim that on certain nights, when the moon is full and the air is thick with mist, the graves glow faintly with an eerie light. Others tell of hearing voices in the dead of night, speaking in languages long forgotten, as if the very earth itself is whispering the secrets of those buried within. These tales, while undoubtedly exaggerated, point to the deep sense of mystery and unease that still surrounds the Melungeons and their legacy. The curse of the Melungeon blood. The Melungeons were not only feared for their mysterious origins, but also for the curses said to be carried in their blood. According to Appalachian folklore, to cross a Melungeon was to invite disaster, and those who wronged them would suffer unimaginable misfortunes. These curses were believed to be tied to the Melungeons' ancient knowledge of the supernatural, a power they wielded in defense against their oppressors. One of the most infamous stories involves a Melungeon woman named Eliza Collins, who was said to have cursed an entire town after being falsely accused of witchcraft. The townspeople, eager to rid themselves of what they saw as a malign influence, forced her into exile, casting her out into the wilderness. As she left, Eliza is said to have uttered a curse that brought ruin upon the town. Crops failed, livestock died, and the town's well ran dry. Those who drove her away met tragic ends, their families plagued by illness and misfortune for generations. Whether these curses were real or merely the products of a collective guilty conscience, they contributed to the Melungeons' fearsome reputation. Even today, in the remote parts of Appalachia, the descendants of those who once persecuted the Melungeons speak in hushed tones about the old curses, wary of invoking the wrath of a people wronged by history. The Great Displacement, vanishing from the land. As the 19th century progressed, the Melungeons faced increasing pressure from the expanding American frontier. The discovery of coal and other valuable resources in Appalachia brought a flood of outsiders eager to exploit the land. This influx of settlers, miners, and loggers disrupted the isolated communities where the Melungeons had lived for generations. Forced off their ancestral lands by legal maneuvers, violence, or economic necessity, many Melungeons were displaced, their homes razed, and their burial grounds desecrated. The displacement of the Melungeons contributed to the loss of their culture and identity. Families were scattered, and the tight-knit communities that had once provided a buffer against the outside world were fragmented. Those who remained in Appalachia were further marginalized, pushed into the most inaccessible parts of the mountains, or forced to blend in with the dominant white population to survive. The Melungeon diaspora spread across the United States, with descendants settling as far away as Ohio, Indiana, and beyond. However, as they moved away from their Appalachian roots, the Melungeons' unique heritage was often diluted, lost amid the melting pot of American society. Many Melungeon descendants grew up unaware of their ancestry, their family histories obscured by generations of silence and shame. The quest for recognition, rediscovering a lost heritage. In the 20th century, as civil rights movements gained momentum, there was a growing recognition of the need to preserve and honor the diverse cultural heritages that make up the American mosaic. For the Melungeons, this meant a renewed interest in uncovering and reclaiming their lost history. Scholars, genealogists, and descendants alike began to piece together the fragmented stories using modern tools like DNA testing to trace the complex web of Melungeon ancestry. The quest for recognition has not been without controversy. Debates over who can truly claim Melungeon heritage have sparked intense discussions within the community and among historians. Some argue that the Melungeons should be recognized as a distinct ethnic group with their own unique culture and history. Others believe that the Melungeons are a symbol of America's complex racial past, a reminder of the fluidity and interconnectedness of human identity. As more people come forward to explore their Melungeon roots, new stories and connections continue to emerge. Melungeon reunions, once small gatherings, have grown into significant events, attracting hundreds of attendees eager to share their stories and celebrate their heritage. These gatherings have become a vital part of the Melungeon Renaissance, providing a space for descendants to connect with one another and with the history that has shaped their lives. The legacy of the Melungeons. A story still unfolding. The story of the Melungeons is far from over. As more is uncovered about their past, new questions arise, and the true nature of their identity remains elusive. What is clear, however, is that the Melungeons have left an indelible mark on the history of Appalachia and on the broader American narrative. Their story is one of survival, resilience, and the enduring human spirit, a testament to the power of identity and the importance of remembering those who have been forgotten by history. The Melungeons challenge us to reconsider our notions of race, culture, and belonging, to acknowledge the complexities of our shared past, and to recognize the many different threads that make up the fabric of America. As the descendants of the Melungeons continue to explore their heritage, they keep alive the memory of a people who, despite centuries of adversity, have never been truly lost. In the end, the Melungeons' legacy is not just about who they were or where they came from. It is about the enduring quest to understand the past and to honor the stories of those who came before us. Their mystery remains, but in that mystery lies the key to understanding the richness and diversity of the human experience. The Melungeons may have been forgotten by history, but they are remembered in the hearts and minds of those who seek to uncover their story. A story that is still unfolding, deep in the mountains of Appalachia. The Melungeon way of life, traditions and survival. Despite the harsh conditions of the Appalachian Mountains and the societal pressures they faced, the Melungeons developed a way of life that was uniquely their own. Isolated from mainstream society, they relied heavily on the resources of the land, becoming expert foragers, hunters, and farmers. Their knowledge of herbal medicine was renowned, passed down through generations and infused with a mix of Native American, African, and European practices. The Melungeons used this knowledge not only to heal their own, but also to trade with and assist their neighbors, often earning a grudging respect from those who otherwise viewed them with suspicion. The Melungeons were also skilled artisans, known for their craftsmanship in woodworking, weaving, and pottery. These skills were essential for survival in the remote mountains, where access to goods from the outside world was limited. They built their homes from the timber around them, often in secluded hollows that provided protection from the elements and from prying eyes. These homes, simple yet sturdy, were a reflection of the Melungeons themselves, adaptable, resilient, and in tune with their environment. Music and storytelling were central to Melungeon culture, serving as both entertainment and a means of preserving their history. Their music, often played on homemade instruments like the fiddle or dulcimer, was a blend of the various cultures that contributed to their ancestry. The melodies and lyrics, passed down orally, carried echoes of distant lands and long-forgotten languages. Storytelling, too, was a vital tradition, with tales that ranged from the humorous to the supernatural, often blurring the lines between myth and reality. These stories were a way to teach lessons, preserve history, and provide comfort in the face of the unknown. Religion among the Melungeons was a complex and syncretic affair, blending elements of Christianity with older, more esoteric beliefs. While many Melungeons outwardly practiced Christianity, attending local churches and participating in communal religious life, they also maintained older traditions rooted in nature worship and folk magic. This duality in their religious practices only added to the sense of mystery that surrounded them, with some locals whispering that the Melungeons could curse as easily as they could pray. The scars of racial struggle, legal battles, and social stigma. As America moved into the 19th century, the issue of race became increasingly contentious, particularly in the South. The Melungeons, with their ambiguous appearance and unknown origins, found themselves at the heart of these racial tensions. In many states, laws were enacted that determined a person's legal status based on the one-drop rule, which classified anyone with even a trace of African ancestry as black. This legal framework had devastating effects on the Melungeons, who were often denied basic rights such as voting, land ownership, and education based solely on their perceived racial background. The Melungeons' attempts to assert their identity often led to protracted legal battles. In some cases, entire families were forced to defend themselves in court against accusations of being persons of color, a label that carried significant social and legal consequences. These court cases often hinged on the testimony of neighbors, the color of a person's skin, and the interpretation of local customs, rather than any concrete evidence. The outcomes of these cases were unpredictable, with some Melungeons successfully convincing the courts of their whiteness, while others were reclassified and subjected to the full weight of discriminatory laws. The stigma attached to being Melungeon persisted into the 20th century, leading many families to hide or deny their heritage. Some Melungeons, fearing the repercussions of being labeled as non-white, altered their names, changed their appearance, and moved to areas where they could blend in with the broader white population. This erasure of identity was a painful process, often leading to a loss of cultural practices and a severing of ties with the past. Yet, even as they assimilated, many Melungeons kept their stories alive within the family, passing down knowledge in secret, ensuring that their heritage would not be completely lost. The Melungeon identity, a patchwork of stories. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Melungeon identity is its patchwork nature. Over the centuries, the Melungeons have been shaped by a wide array of influences. Native American tribes like the Cherokee, European settlers from Spain, Portugal, and Scotland, African slaves, and possibly even Middle Eastern or Jewish communities. This blending of cultures has resulted in a unique and complex identity that defies easy categorization. For many Melungeon descendants, exploring this identity is a deeply personal journey, one that involves sifting through layers of family history, folklore, and genetic data. The process can be both enlightening and challenging, revealing connections to multiple ethnicities and cultures that were previously unknown. This exploration often leads to a revaluation of personal and family identity as individuals come to terms with the multifaceted nature of their heritage. The Melungeons' patchwork identity also serves as a microcosm of the broader American experience. Just as the Melungeons are a blend of many different cultures, so too is the United States a nation built on the contributions of diverse peoples. The story of the Melungeons, therefore, is not just about one group of people, but about the ways in which cultures intersect, interact, and influence one another. It is a reminder that identity is not fixed, but is instead an evolving construct, shaped by history, environment, and personal experience. The academic pursuit, unraveling the mystery. In recent decades, the mystery of the Melungeons has attracted the attention of academics from a variety of fields, including history, anthropology, genetics, and sociology. These scholars have sought to unravel the many threads of Melungeon identity using a combination of historical records, oral histories, and modern scientific techniques like DNA analysis. The results of these studies have been both fascinating and inconclusive. While DNA evidence has confirmed that the Melungeons are indeed a mixed race group with ties to multiple continents, the exact origins of their ancestors remain unclear. Some researchers have found traces of African, European, and Native American ancestry, while others have detected genetic markers associated with Mediterranean or Middle Eastern populations. This genetic diversity only deepens the mystery, suggesting that the Melungeons' ancestors may have come from a variety of places, possibly even as far back as ancient times. The academic study of the Melungeons has also shed light on the broader issues of race, identity, and classification in American history. The Melungeons challenge the traditional racial categories that have been used to divide people in the United States, illustrating the fluidity and complexity of human identity. Their story is a testament to the fact that race is not a biological reality but a social construct, one that has been used to justify discrimination and inequality. The cultural impact. The Melungeons in popular media. As the story of the Melungeons has become more widely known, it has also entered the realm of popular culture. Books, documentaries, and films have all sought to explore the mystery of the Melungeons, often focusing on the more sensational aspects of their history, their supposed connection to the lost Roanoke colony, their alleged supernatural powers, and their status as a tri-racial isolate. While these portrayals have helped to raise awareness of the Melungeons, they have also sometimes perpetuated myths and misconceptions. The tendency to exoticize or romanticize the Melungeons can obscure the real challenges they faced and continue to face as a marginalized group. It is important to recognize that the Melungeons are not just a curiosity or a historical footnote, but a living community with a rich and complex history. At the same time, the increased visibility of the Melungeons in popular media has provided an opportunity for descendants to connect with their heritage and share their stories with a wider audience. Through books, films, and online communities, Melungeon descendants have been able to come together, celebrate their shared heritage, and educate others about the true nature of their history. The future of the Melungeon legacy, preservation and continuation. As the Melungeon Renaissance continues, there is a growing emphasis on preserving and continuing the cultural traditions that have been passed down through generations. This includes efforts to document oral histories, preserve traditional crafts and music, and ensure that the Melungeons' contributions to American history are recognized and honored. The Melungeon Heritage Association plays a crucial role in these efforts, organizing annual gatherings, conducting research, and advocating for the recognition of Melungeon history. These gatherings provide a space for Melungeon descendants to come together, share their experiences, and learn from one another. They also serve as a reminder that despite centuries of marginalization, the Melungeons have endured and continue to thrive. Looking to the future, the Melungeon community faces both challenges and opportunities. The challenge lies in ensuring that their history is not lost or distorted, particularly as the older generations pass away and memories fade. The opportunity, however, lies in the renewed interest in Melungeon history, both within the community and beyond. This interest provides a chance to correct the historical record, celebrate the Melungeons' contributions, and inspire future generations to take pride in their heritage. Conclusion: the enduring mystery of the Melungeons. The story of the Melungeons is a profound and ongoing mystery, one that reflects the complexities of identity, race, and history in America. It is a story of survival against the odds, of a people who have persisted despite attempts to erase them from history. The Melungeons' legacy is one of resilience, adaptation, and the power of storytelling, a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure and thrive even in the face of adversity. As we continue to explore and uncover the Melungeons' history, we are reminded that the past is never truly lost. It lives on in the stories we tell, the traditions we keep, and the identities we claim. The Melungeons may have been forgotten by history, but their story is one that deserves to be remembered. A story of a people who, despite the odds, refuse to be forgotten. The mystery of the Melungeons is not just about uncovering the past. It is about understanding the present and shaping the future. The oral histories, voices from the past. The story of the Melungeons is perhaps best preserved in the oral histories passed down through generations. These stories, whispered among families and shared around hearths, offer a glimpse into the lives of the Melungeons that cannot be found in official records or academic studies. They speak of struggles, triumphs, and the deep connection to the land that has shaped their existence in the Appalachian Mountains. One such tale is that of Old Man Blevins, a Melungeon elder known for his wisdom and uncanny ability to predict the weather. According to the stories, Blevins could read the clouds and interpret the behavior of animals to forecast storms or dry spells with an accuracy that baffled even the most experienced farmers. Some claimed he had inherited this gift from his ancestors, who had learned to survive in the mountains by attuning themselves to the natural world. Others whispered that Blevins had made a pact with the spirits of the mountains, trading his soul for knowledge that no mortal should possess. Another legend tells of the Silent Woman, a Melungeon healer who lived in a secluded hollow deep in the woods. She was known for her ability to cure ailments that no doctor could treat, using herbs, roots, and rituals passed down from her mother and grandmother. People traveled for miles to seek her help, though they did so with a mix of hope and fear. The Silent Woman never spoke, not even to those she healed, and it was said that her silence was the result of a vow she had taken after witnessing a great tragedy. Some believed that her silence gave her power, that by forgoing speech, she could listen more deeply to the voices of the earth and the spirits that guided her. These stories, while often embellished with time, are more than mere folklore. They are the threads that connect the Melungeons to their past, binding them together in a shared identity that transcends the hardships they have endured. The oral histories are also a means of preserving the lessons learned through generations of living in the isolated and often unforgiving mountains. They teach the importance of resilience, community, and a deep respect for the natural world, values that have sustained the Melungeons through centuries of adversity. The hidden symbols, decoding the Melungeon language. While much of the Melungeons' history has been lost or obscured, remnants of their unique culture can still be found in the symbols and languages they used. The Melungeons were known to inscribe symbols on their homes, tools, and even on stones near their burial sites. These symbols, often dismissed by outsiders as mere decoration or primitive art, are believed to hold deeper meanings, representing a blend of spiritual beliefs, protection rituals, and cultural identity. Some researchers have suggested that these symbols may be related to ancient scripts or alphabets from the Mediterranean or Middle East, pointing to the possibility of distant origins in these regions. Others believe the symbols are a form of code used by the Melungeons to communicate secretly in a time when open expression of their identity could lead to persecution. These symbols may have conveyed messages about safety, the presence of friendly families, or warnings of danger. The language of the Melungeons, too, remains a subject of fascination and debate. While they spoke a dialect of English, it was often peppered with words and phrases that seemed to come from other languages, Portuguese, Spanish, and various Native American tongues. This unique dialect served as both a marker of identity and a means of preserving their cultural heritage in the face of assimilation. Linguists who have studied the Melungeon dialect suggest that it is a Creole language formed through the blending of multiple linguistic traditions as the Melungeons interacted with different groups over the centuries. The complexity of the Melungeon language and symbols reflects their diverse origins and the adaptive strategies they employed to survive. As more of these symbols are uncovered and studied, they offer new insights into the Melungeons' worldview, their connections to ancient cultures, and their efforts to preserve their identity in a world that often sought to erase it. The Appalachian landscape, a natural fortress. The Appalachian Mountains provided the Melungeons with both refuge and challenge. The rugged terrain, with its dense forests, steep ridges, and hidden valleys, served as a natural fortress, protecting the Melungeons from outside interference while also isolating them from the broader society. This isolation was a double-edged sword. It allowed the Melungeons to develop a distinct culture, but it also meant that they were often misunderstood and marginalized by those who lived outside the mountains. The relationship between the Melungeons and the Appalachian landscape was one of deep symbiosis. The mountains offered everything they needed: food, water, shelter, but only to those who knew how to extract these resources from the land without depleting them. The Melungeons became masters of this balance, learning to hunt game, cultivate small plots of land, and forage for edible plants and medicinal herbs. Their knowledge of the land was passed down through generations, forming a body of wisdom that was as much a part of their identity as their physical characteristics or cultural practices. The mountains also provided the Melungeons with a sense of spiritual connection. The Appalachian landscape, with its ancient trees, roaring rivers, and mist-shrouded peaks, was seen as a living entity, a source of power and protection, but also of danger. The Melungeons believed that the mountains were inhabited by spirits, both benevolent and malevolent, who could influence their lives in subtle and profound ways. This belief in the spiritual power of the land informed many of their practices, from the way they built their homes to the rituals they performed to ensure a successful harvest or a safe journey. But the isolation of the mountains also came with its costs. The Melungeons were often cut off from trade, medical care, and other resources available to more accessible communities. They had to rely on their own ingenuity and resilience to survive, and this often meant living in conditions of extreme poverty. The harsh winters, with their biting cold and heavy snows, could be deadly, and those who fell ill or were injured had little hope of outside help. Yet, despite these challenges, the Melungeons persisted, drawing strength from their connection to the land and to each other. The Melungeon diaspora, scattering to the four winds. As the 20th century dawned, the forces of industrialization and modernization began to reach even the remote valleys of Appalachia. The discovery of coal and other natural resources brought outsiders into the region, disrupting the traditional way of life for the Melungeons. The pressures of economic development, combined with ongoing social stigma and legal challenges, led many Melungeons to leave their ancestral homes and seek new lives elsewhere. This migration, which accelerated during the Great Depression and continued through the post-war years, scattered the Melungeons across the United States. Some moved to nearby cities like Knoxville or Asheville, while others ventured further afield, settling in industrial centers in the Midwest or even on the West Coast. This diaspora marked a significant turning point in Melungeon history, as families who had lived in close-knit communities for generations were now dispersed, often losing touch with one another and with their shared heritage. For many Melungeons, this migration was a bittersweet experience. While it offered new opportunities and the possibility of escaping the poverty and prejudice they had known in Appalachia, it also meant leaving behind the land that had been their home for centuries. The mountains, with their familiar rhythms and deep connections to the past, were replaced by the noise and bustle of the city, where the Melungeons were often seen as just another group of poor migrants, their unique heritage lost in the anonymity of urban life. Yet, even in the cities, the Melungeons found ways to maintain their connections to one another and to their culture. In some cases, they formed small communities within larger urban neighborhoods where they could continue their traditions and support one another. Others sought out family members who had migrated before them, re-establishing ties that had been severed by distance. Despite the challenges of assimilation, the Melungeons managed to preserve many aspects of their identity, passing down their stories, songs, and customs to the next generation. The rediscovery, a new wave of interest. In recent decades, the story of the Melungeons has experienced a revival as scholars, genealogists, and descendants have sought to uncover and preserve this unique chapter of American history. This rediscovery has been fueled in part by advances in technology, such as DNA testing, which has allowed many individuals to trace their ancestry back to the Melungeons. For some, this discovery has come as a surprise, revealing connections to a heritage they knew little about. For others, it has confirmed family stories that had been passed down through generations, often in whispers or coded language. The renewed interest in Melungeon history has led to the publication of numerous books, articles, and documentaries, each offering new insights into the lives and struggles of this enigmatic group. These works have helped to correct some of the misconceptions that have long surrounded the Melungeons, challenging stereotypes and shining a light on their true contributions to American society. They have also sparked debates about race, identity, and the complexities of American history, as the Melungeons' story intersects with broader narratives of immigration, colonization, and racial mixing. This resurgence of interest has also led to the formation of groups like the Melungeon Heritage Association, which has played a key role in organizing reunions, preserving records, and advocating for recognition of the Melungeons' unique history. These efforts have helped to build a sense of community among Melungeon descendants, many of whom are eager to learn more about their heritage and to pass that knowledge on to future generations. For those who identify as Melungeon, this rediscovery is not just about uncovering the past. It is about reclaiming a sense of identity and pride that has been denied for too long. It is about recognizing the strength and resilience of their ancestors who, despite centuries of hardship, managed to survive and maintain a distinct culture. It is also about ensuring that the Melungeons are not forgotten, that their story continues to be told and remembered as an integral part of the American experience. The legacy of the Melungeons, lessons for today. The story of the Melungeons offers valuable lessons for contemporary society, particularly in how we understand race, identity, and community. The Melungeons' experience challenges the rigid racial categories that have often been used to divide people, demonstrating instead the fluidity and interconnectedness of human identity. Their history is a reminder that race is not a simple matter of black and white, but a complex interplay of culture, ancestry, and lived experience. The Melungeons also teach us about the importance of resilience and adaptability. Despite facing significant obstacles, including social stigma, legal discrimination, and economic hardship, they managed to carve out a space for themselves in a world that often sought to marginalize them. Their ability to survive and thrive in the face of adversity is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of community. In today's world, where issues of race and identity continue to be hotly debated, the Melungeon story serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of oversimplifying complex identities. It challenges us to look beyond superficial differences and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all together. The Melungeon's legacy is one of diversity, inclusion, and the recognition that every person's story is a vital part of the broader human narrative. As the descendants of the Melungeons continue to explore their heritage and share their stories, they ensure that this legacy lives on. The Melungeons may have been a people forgotten by history, but they are now being remembered in a way that honors their contributions and celebrates their unique place in the tapestry of American history. Conclusion: the eternal mystery. The Melungeons remain one of America's most enduring mysteries. Despite all that has been uncovered about them, much of their history is still shrouded in uncertainty. Their origins, their cultural practices, and even their very identity are questions that may never be fully answered. But perhaps it is this very mystery that makes the Melungeons so compelling. They remind us that history is not always a clear-cut narrative, but a complex and often contradictory story, filled with gaps and silences that challenge us to think more deeply about who we are and where we come from. The Melungeon story is one of survival, resilience, and the power of memory. It is a story that continues to unfold, as new generations of descendants seek to uncover the truth about their ancestors and to reclaim a heritage that has long been hidden. The Melungeons may have been marginalized and forgotten, but their legacy endures, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a people who refuse to be erased from history. As we continue to explore and learn from the Melungeons, we are reminded that the past is never truly lost. It lives on in the stories we tell, the traditions we keep, and the identities we embrace. The Melungeons, with all their mystery and complexity, offer us a window into the rich and diverse history of America. A history that is as much about survival and adaptation as it is about struggle and conflict. The mystery of the Melungeons is not just a puzzle to be solved, it is a narrative that challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about race, identity, and history. It invites us to explore the hidden corners of our past and to recognize the many different threads that make up the fabric of our shared human experience. In doing so, we honor the Melungeons and ensure that their story, with all its complexity and depth, will never be forgotten. The quest for identity, personal journeys into the past. The journey to uncover Melungeon ancestry is often deeply personal, filled with both discovery and disquiet. For many descendants, the quest to understand their roots begins with family stories, whispers of a mixed-race heritage, hints of a mysterious origin, or perhaps a grandmother's dark, olive-toned skin that couldn't be easily explained. These tantalizing fragments spark a curiosity that leads many on a journey through archives, old family Bibles, courthouse records, and DNA databases, all in search of answers to the question, who were the Melungeons? One such journey is the story of Sarah Williams, a modern-day Melungeon descendant who grew up hearing vague tales of her ancestors. Her grandmother, a quiet woman with deep-set eyes and a complexion that seemed out of place in the rural Virginia community where she lived, had often hinted at a different kind of heritage, but never spoke openly about it. Sarah's mother, too, had been raised with a sense of something unusual in their family's past, but had learned not to ask too many questions. When Sarah, in her early 30s, decided to dig into her genealogy, she encountered a trail of documents that seemed to lead nowhere. Records were sparse, names changed or misspelled, and whole generations seemed to vanish from the paper trail. It wasn't until she connected with a distant cousin who had also been researching the family history that Sarah learned about the Melungeons. The cousin shared stories of their shared ancestors, People who had lived in the remote hills of Tennessee and Virginia, who had been labeled as free people of color and had faced legal battles over their right to own land and marry. For Sarah, this discovery was both enlightening and unsettling. On the one hand, it provided a new sense of identity, a connection to a rich and complex history that she had never fully understood. On the other hand, it raised difficult questions about race, identity, and the legacy of discrimination that her ancestors had faced. How had they seen themselves? How had they navigated a society that refused to recognize them as fully human? And what did it mean for her, living in the 21st century, to be part of this legacy? Sarah's story is not unique. Across the United States, many people are discovering their Melungeon heritage and grappling with the implications of this newfound identity. Some are drawn to the mystery and romance of the Melungeon story, intrigued by the idea of being connected to a people who defied easy categorization. Others approach their discovery with caution, aware of the painful history of marginalization and erasure that the Melungeons endured. For all of them, the quest to understand their roots is a journey that challenges their assumptions, deepens their understanding of history, and ultimately reshapes their sense of self. The hidden roots. The role of DNA in unraveling Melungeon ancestry. In the search for the origins of the Melungeons, DNA testing has emerged as a powerful tool, offering insights that were previously out of reach. Through genetic testing, many descendants have been able to trace their lineage back to specific regions or populations, uncovering connections that span continents and centuries. These genetic clues have helped to piece together the complex mosaic of Melungeon ancestry, revealing a blend of African, European, Native American, and even possibly Middle Eastern or Mediterranean roots. However, DNA testing also brings with it a set of challenges and limitations. The science of genetics can only tell part of the story, providing data points that must be interpreted within the broader context of history, culture, and personal experience. For some descendants, DNA results have confirmed long-held family traditions or oral histories, providing a sense of validation and continuity. For others, the results have been surprising, even disorienting, revealing unexpected connections to populations or regions that had not previously been part of their family narrative. Take the case of James Hernandez, who grew up in a small town in Kentucky with a family history that was, on the surface, typically Appalachian, Scots-Irish, English, maybe a bit of Cherokee. When James took a DNA test, he was shocked to find that his genetic makeup included significant traces of sub-Saharan African and Portuguese ancestry, as well as smaller amounts of Native American DNA. This discovery led him to research the Melungeons, a group he had never heard of but which, he quickly realized, might explain the unusual mix of genetics in his family. As James delved deeper into the Melungeon story, he began to see patterns in his family history that had previously been invisible. The stories his grandfather told about their ancestors, who lived in isolated mountain hollows and were sometimes shunned by their neighbors, started to make more sense. The peculiarities of his family's physical appearance, dark eyes, high cheekbones, and olive skin that seemed out of place in an otherwise white family, were suddenly clues to a deeper, more complex heritage. For James, and for many others like him, the experience of uncovering Melungeon ancestry through DNA is both a revelation and a challenge. It forces a reconsideration of identity, a revaluation of family history, and a confrontation with the complicated legacy of race in America. DNA may provide the keys to unlock the secrets of the past, but it also opens up new questions about what it means to belong to a particular group or heritage. The role of the Melungeon Heritage Association, preserving a legacy. Founded in 1997, the Melungeon Heritage Association, MHA, has played a crucial role in preserving and promoting the history and culture of the Melungeons. The MHA was created in response to the growing interest in Melungeon history, providing a space for descendants to come together, share their research, and connect with one another. The organization has been instrumental in organizing annual reunions, known as gatherings, where Melungeon descendants can meet, learn, and celebrate their shared heritage. These gatherings have become a cornerstone of the Melungeon Renaissance, offering a mix of scholarly presentations, genealogical workshops, and cultural events. Attendees have the opportunity to hear from historians, anthropologists, and other experts who have studied the Melungeons, as well as from fellow descendants who have uncovered their own family histories. The gatherings also provide a space for the celebration of Melungeon culture, including music, storytelling, and traditional crafts. The MHA's work goes beyond these gatherings, however. The organization is committed to advocating for the recognition of Melungeon history and to ensuring that the contributions of Melungeons are acknowledged in the broader narrative of American history. This has included efforts to document and preserve Melungeon cemeteries, support academic research into Melungeon ancestry, and raise awareness about the challenges that Melungeon communities have faced. One of the MHA's most significant achievements has been its role in fostering a sense of community among Melungeon descendants. For many people who grew up with only vague or fragmented knowledge of their Melungeon heritage, the MHA has provided a vital connection to a larger story, a place where they can find others who share their experiences and learn more about their past. This sense of belonging is especially important for those who have felt isolated or disconnected from their heritage, offering a way to reclaim a part of their identity that might otherwise have been lost. The impact of Melungeon recognition. A changing landscape. The recognition of Melungeon history and identity has had a profound impact on the descendants of this group, as well as on the broader understanding of race and identity in America. For many descendants, learning about their Melungeon heritage has been an empowering experience, offering a new perspective on their own identities and a deeper connection to their ancestors. It has also provided a sense of pride in a heritage that, for many years, was hidden or denied. At the same time, the recognition of Melungeon history has also prompted important conversations about race, ethnicity, and the ways in which identity is constructed. The Melungeons challenge the binary racial categories that have long dominated American society, illustrating the complexity and fluidity of identity. Their story shows how people have navigated the intersections of race, culture, and power, often in ways that defy easy classification. This recognition has also had tangible effects in the legal and social realms. In some cases, descendants of Melungeons have used their heritage to challenge racial classifications that have been imposed on them, particularly in the context of Native American or African American ancestry. The recognition of Melungeon identity has also led to efforts to reclaim and preserve Melungeon cemeteries, land, and cultural artifacts, ensuring that the physical traces of this group's history are not lost. Moreover, the growing awareness of Melungeon history has contributed to broader discussions about race and identity in America. The Melungeons are often cited in academic and popular discourse as an example of the ways in which racial boundaries have been crossed and blurred throughout American history. Their story is used to illustrate the diversity of the American experience and to challenge simplistic narratives about race and ethnicity. However, this recognition has not been without its challenges. The increased visibility of the Melungeons has also brought with it the risk of oversimplification, as their story is sometimes reduced to a mere curiosity or a footnote in the larger narrative of American history. There is also the ongoing challenge of ensuring that the diversity within the Melungeon community is recognized and respected, as different families and individuals may have different understandings of what it means to be Melungeon. Looking forward, the future of Melungeon heritage. As the 21st century progresses, the future of Melungeon heritage will depend on the continued efforts of descendants, scholars, and advocates to preserve and promote this unique history. The challenges are significant: the passage of time, the loss of older generations, and the pressures of assimilation all threaten to erode the connections that have been so carefully maintained. Yet there is also reason for optimism, as the renewed interest in Melungeon history and culture shows no signs of waning. One of the key challenges will be ensuring that the Melungeon story is included in the broader narrative of American history. This means not only preserving the records and artifacts of the past, but also continuing to advocate for the recognition of Melungeon contributions to American society. It also means educating future generations about the complexities of race and identity, using the Melungeon experience as a case study in the ways in which these concepts have been shaped and reshaped over time. Another important focus will be the preservation of Melungeon culture. This includes not only the tangible aspects of culture, such as crafts, music, and language, but also the intangible elements, such as the values, traditions, and stories that have been passed down through generations. As more Melungeon descendants reconnect with their heritage, there is an opportunity to revive and sustain these cultural practices, ensuring that they continue to be a vibrant part of the community. Finally, the future of Melungeon heritage will depend on the continued strength and vitality of the Melungeon community itself. This means building connections among descendants, fostering a sense of pride and belonging, and creating spaces where people can come together to celebrate and learn about their shared heritage. It also means supporting efforts to address the ongoing challenges that Melungeon communities face, from legal recognition to social stigma. Conclusion: the enduring legacy of the Melungeons. The story of the Melungeons is one of resilience, adaptation, and survival. It is a story that defies easy categorization, challenging our assumptions about race, identity, and history. From their mysterious origins in the Appalachian Mountains to their ongoing quest for recognition and understanding, the Melungeons have left an indelible mark on American history. Their legacy is one of complexity and contradiction, but also of strength and pride, a testament to the enduring human spirit. As we continue to explore and learn from the Melungeons, we are reminded that history is not a fixed narrative, but a living, evolving story. The Melungeons, with all their mystery and complexity, offer us a window into the rich and diverse history of America, a history that is as much about survival and adaptation as it is about struggle and conflict. In their story, we find lessons for the present and hope for the future, a reminder that, even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can endure and thrive. The mystery of the Melungeons may never be fully solved, but it is a mystery that continues to captivate and inspire. As we look to the future, the challenge will be to preserve this legacy, to honor the contributions of the Melungeons, and to ensure that their story is remembered and celebrated as an integral part of the American experience. The Melungeons may have been a people forgotten by history, but their story is now being told, and it is a story that deserves to be heard. The intersection of faith and tradition, Melungeon spirituality. Religion and spirituality have always played a central role in Melungeon life, serving as both a source of comfort and a means of resistance against the harsh realities of their existence. The Melungeons' religious practices were a unique blend of Christianity and older, more esoteric beliefs, reflecting their diverse cultural heritage. Most Melungeons outwardly practiced Christianity, attending local churches and participating in community religious events. However, their version of Christianity was often infused with elements of mysticism, folk magic, and a deep reverence for the natural world. This syncretic form of spirituality allowed the Melungeons to maintain a connection to their ancestral traditions while also adapting to the dominant religious culture of the region. For many Melungeons, the church was more than just a place of worship, it was the heart of their community. Church services, revivals, and camp meetings were important social events, providing opportunities for Melungeons to come together, share news, and strengthen communal bonds. These gatherings were also occasions for the expression of cultural identity, with Melungeon hymns and spiritual songs reflecting the blend of musical influences that characterized their heritage. In addition to their Christian faith, the Melungeons also practiced a form of folk spirituality that drew on African, Native American, and European traditions. This included the use of charms, talismans, and herbal potions for protection and healing, as well as the belief in spirits, omens, and the power of the natural world. Certain trees, springs, and rocks were considered sacred, believed to be inhabited by spirits or to possess special powers. One of the most enduring aspects of Melungeon spirituality is the practice of speaking in tongues, a phenomenon that was particularly prevalent among Melungeon communities in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Speaking in tongues, or glossolalia, was seen as a sign of divine possession, a way of communicating with God in a language that transcended human understanding. This practice, which has its roots in both African and Christian traditions, was a powerful expression of faith and spiritual ecstasy for the Melungeons. The Melungeons' spiritual practices also included rituals for the dead, reflecting their belief in the afterlife and the importance of honoring ancestors. Funerals were solemn occasions marked by songs, prayers, and the recitation of family histories. In some Melungeon communities, it was believed that the spirits of the dead could influence the living, and special care was taken to ensure that the deceased were properly laid to rest. This included the use of protective symbols or objects placed on graves, as well as rituals to cleanse or appease spirits that might cause harm. The struggle for recognition. The Melungeons in modern America. Despite the progress that has been made in uncovering and preserving Melungeon history, the struggle for recognition and acceptance continues. For many years, the Melungeons were marginalized and misunderstood, their identity obscured by prejudice and misinformation. Even today, there are challenges to ensuring that the Melungeons' contributions to American history are fully acknowledged and respected. One of the ongoing issues facing Melungeon descendants is the question of racial classification. The Melungeons have historically been subjected to a wide range of labels, including free people of color, mulatto, Portuguese, and Indian. These labels were often imposed by outsiders and reflected the broader society's inability to fit the Melungeons into rigid racial categories. This has led to confusion and inconsistency in the way Melungeons are identified and recognized, both legally and socially. In recent years, there has been a growing movement among Melungeon descendants to reclaim their identity and to challenge the racial classifications that have been imposed on them. This has included efforts to gain official recognition as a distinct ethnic group, as well as campaigns to raise awareness about the Melungeons' unique history and cultural heritage. These efforts have been met with varying degrees of success, but they have also sparked important conversations about the nature of race and identity in America. The recognition of Melungeon history has also brought new challenges for the community. As more people discover their Melungeon ancestry, there is a need to ensure that the diversity within the Melungeon community is respected and that the contributions of all Melungeons, regardless of their racial or ethnic background, are acknowledged. This has led to discussions about what it means to be Melungeon and how to navigate the complexities of identity in a way that honors the community's history while also embracing its future. The role of academia, documenting and researching Melungeon history. Academic research has played a crucial role in bringing the story of the Melungeons to light. Over the past few decades, historians, anthropologists, and genealogists have made significant strides in documenting the history of the Melungeons, uncovering new information about their origins, cultural practices, and contributions to American society. This research has often involved a combination of archival work, oral history interviews, and genetic studies. By piecing together historical records, analyzing DNA data, and collecting stories from Melungeon descendants, scholars have been able to construct a more complete and nuanced picture of who the Melungeons were and how they lived. This work has been instrumental in challenging the myths and stereotypes that have long surrounded the Melungeons and in providing a more accurate and respectful account of their history. However, academic research on the Melungeons has also raised important ethical questions, particularly around issues of identity and representation. As researchers delve into the history of the Melungeons, they must navigate the complexities of studying a group that has been historically marginalized and whose identity has often been misunderstood or misrepresented. This requires a sensitive and respectful approach, one that acknowledges the agency of Melungeon descendants and their right to define their own identity. Moreover, the relationship between academics and the Melungeon community is a dynamic one. While scholars have played a key role in uncovering and preserving Melungeon history, the community itself has also been actively involved in this process, contributing their own knowledge, experiences, and perspectives. This collaboration has been essential in ensuring that the history of the Melungeons is not just a subject of academic study, but a living, evolving story that is owned by the community itself. The broader impact, lessons from the Melungeon experience. The story of the Melungeons offers valuable lessons, not only for those who identify as Melungeon, but for all who seek to understand the complexities of race, identity, and history. The Melungeons' experience challenges us to think critically about the ways in which identity is constructed, both by individuals and by society as a whole. It shows us that identity is not static or fixed, but is instead shaped by a wide range of factors, including culture, ancestry, and lived experience. The Melungeons also remind us of the importance of resilience and adaptation. Their ability to survive and thrive in the face of adversity is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of community. The Melungeons have faced significant challenges, including social stigma, legal discrimination, and economic hardship, yet they have managed to preserve their culture, maintain their identity, and pass down their traditions to future generations. In addition, the Melungeon story highlights the value of diversity and inclusion. The Melungeons are a product of cultural mixing, a blend of different peoples and traditions that have come together to create something unique. Their history challenges us to move beyond simplistic notions of race and ethnicity and to embrace the complexity and richness of human diversity. Finally, the Melungeons teach us about the importance of memory and storytelling. The preservation of Melungeon history has been largely dependent on the stories that have been passed down through generations. These stories, whether told through music, oral histories, or written records, have kept the memory of the Melungeons alive and have ensured that their contributions are not forgotten. They remind us that history is not just about facts and dates, but about the lived experiences of real people and the stories they leave behind. A living legacy, the continuing story of the Melungeons. As the story of the Melungeons continues to unfold, it is clear that their legacy is far from complete. The Melungeons are not just a relic of the past, but a living community with a rich and evolving culture. Their story is one of survival, resilience, and the ongoing quest for recognition and understanding. For Melungeon descendants, the journey to uncover and embrace their heritage is a deeply personal one, filled with both challenges and rewards. It is a journey that requires a willingness to confront difficult truths, to question long-held assumptions, and to embrace a complex and multifaceted identity. But it is also a journey that offers the opportunity to connect with a rich and unique cultural heritage, to celebrate the strength and resilience of one's ancestors, and to contribute to the preservation and continuation of the Melungeon legacy. For those outside the Melungeon community, the story of the Melungeons offers a valuable perspective on the broader issues of race, identity, and history. It challenges us to think critically about the ways in which we define and understand these concepts, and to recognize the diversity and complexity of the human experience. The Melungeons remind us that identity is not a simple matter of black and white, but a complex and evolving tapestry that reflects the many different threads of human history. As we look to the future, the story of the Melungeons will continue to inspire, challenge, and educate. Their legacy is one of courage, adaptability, and the power of memory, a legacy that will endure as long as there are those who are willing to remember, to tell the story, and to pass it on to the next generation. The Melungeons may have been a people forgotten by history, but their story is now being rediscovered and celebrated, a story that will continue to resonate for generations to come. The quest for identity, personal journeys into the past. The journey to uncover Melungeon ancestry is often deeply personal, filled with both discovery and disquiet. For many descendants, the quest to understand their roots begins with family stories, whispers of a mixed-race heritage, hints of a mysterious origin, or perhaps a grandmother's dark, olive-toned skin that couldn't be easily explained. These tantalizing fragments spark a curiosity that leads many on a journey through archives, old family Bibles, courthouse records, and DNA databases, all in search of answers to the question, who were the Melungeons? One such journey is the story of Sarah Williams, a modern-day Melungeon descendant who grew up hearing vague tales of her ancestors. Her grandmother, a quiet woman with deep-set eyes and a complexion that seemed out of place in the rural Virginia community where she lived, had often hinted at a different kind of heritage, but never spoke openly about it. Sarah's mother, too, had been raised with a sense of something unusual in their family's past, but had learned not to ask too many questions. When Sarah, in her early 30s, decided to dig into her genealogy, she encountered a trail of documents that seemed to lead nowhere. Records were sparse, names changed or misspelled, and whole generations seemed to vanish from the paper trail. It wasn't until she connected with a distant cousin who had also been researching the family history that Sarah learned about the Melungeons. The cousin shared stories of their shared ancestors, people who had lived in the remote hills of Tennessee and Virginia, who had been labeled as free people of color and had faced legal battles over their right to own land and marry. For Sarah, this discovery was both enlightening and unsettling. On the one hand, it provided a new sense of identity, a connection to a rich and complex history that she had never fully understood. On the other hand, it raised difficult questions about race, identity, and the legacy of discrimination that her ancestors had faced. How had they seen themselves? How had they navigated a society that refused to recognize them as fully human? And what did it mean for her, living in the 21st century, to be part of this legacy? Sarah's story is not unique. Across the United States, many people are discovering their Melungeon heritage and grappling with the implications of this newfound identity. Some are drawn to the mystery and romance of the Melungeon story, intrigued by the idea of being connected to a people who defied easy categorization. Others approach their discovery with caution, aware of the painful history of marginalization and erasure that the Melungeons endured. For all of them, the quest to understand their roots is a journey that challenges their assumptions, deepens their understanding of history, and ultimately reshapes their sense of self.